What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It is also sponsored by Dad, Central Canada's national fatherhood organization, and I am the board chair of the Global Food and Drink Initiative, a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. Today, I am live with you on June 6th, hot, hazy, humid Toronto, over 90 degrees Fahrenheit with the humidity, but we are cool for cats. We're doing, as we do most Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Black Canada Talking. And Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians an opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of interest on them and to them. And also we showcase Black Canadians. We also like to introduce great Black Canadians that you may not know about that are doing outstanding things. So we have another new friend on the Dr. Vibe Show today, our Black Canada Talking. Her name is Dionne Levy. Ms. Levy is a Postpartum Support Internation, short form PSI, trained and two-time survivor of Perinatal Mood Disorders, PMDs for short. Through her personal journey, she's on the quest to educate, empower, and emancipate women from the shame that can be experienced following the birth of their child. Providing support to mothers, partners, and support persons, she is here to create a safe place and safe space and a judgment-free environment where open and honest conversations about challenges with the parental mood disorders can begin. Through some sharing of experiences, what she hopes to convey with those on this journey is that 1, you're not alone. 2, it's okay not to be okay. And 3, you will get through this. So we are blessed, highly favored, and a magnet for miracles to have Ms. Levy on the show today. Ms. Levy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Outstanding and blessed. What's going on?
I'm just happy to be here with you to share the word on this topic so we can inform more people.
Excellent, excellent. And one of the reasons why I do this journey called the Dr. Vibe Show, which I've done over 2,500 conversations, is learning about new things. And I had not heard a lot about this subject, and I'm a firm believer that the more you know, the more we need to know, or you need to know. So we're very happy to have you on today. Thank you to Norris Bowen for introducing us together. You know, longtime family friends, and it's really great. And we're looking for a really good conversation today. But before we go any further, can you give us a little bit of you before all these great accolades and the great bio I read?
Oh my gosh.
Where were you born? Where you grew up, etc.?
Okay, so I was born and raised here in Canada, grew up in Toronto in the West End called the Junction. I don't know if many people know where the Junction is, but you know, around Dundas and Runnymede. I grew up there for most of my life. I'm now out in Durham and Ajax. And, you know, since a young age, I've always had compassion and wanting to give back to others. You know, I'm very empathetic to people and what they're going through. Everyone has a story. And so when people used to ask me, what is it that you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to help people, but I didn't know in what way I was going to help them. So initially I started off, you know, coming up with a program where I was giving necessities to the homeless people. And I'm a bit of I don't want to say not pessimistic, but I want to see where the money is going. I don't want to just give to organizations. I want to see the people that I'm giving the things to. And so I would have, you know, a bunch of friends and some organizations help with donations and get out on the streets and give to people. And then the pandemic hit. So I kind of laid back off of that. But in also doing that, I've had 2 children. They're 5 and 10. And with both of those incidences, I had experienced what people know as postpartum depression, but the more correct term is perinatal mood disorders. And it was with my second experience that I started questioning, well, why did I have this thing? What is going on? And it was at that very moment that I realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be sharing my story with other women, and not just women, but fathers, their families, support persons, in order to create more awareness, get rid of the stigma, get rid of the shame that surrounds it. And so that's why I'm here today doing what I do. I believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing in life. And it's why I've gone through perinatal mood disorders twice.
Well, Norris is on the line. He's shouting out, saying hello. So he said he's looking forward to this conversation. Before we get more into it, where do you get your heart for servitude?
You know what? I thought about this the other day, and I just remember, even as I was a little girl, I would be watching the channels with the, children who didn't have much in life all over the world. I was always drawn to that type of work. I always had compassion for it. And it was just something that's always been in me. I've had some people that say, like, you wear your heart on your sleeve, but it's just who I am. It's what I like to do. My personality does not belong behind a computer screen, typing away and doing that type of work. I am much more comfortable conversing back and forth with people, understanding their stories, and just listening, because everyone has gone through something.
When I was doing some research into this, I said, wow, never heard about it before.
Right.
But when you first experienced this, what was your reaction? And then what was your family and loved ones' reaction initially when you dealt with this the first time?
Oh my gosh. So the first time I knew that postpartum depression existed, but I never equated myself with having it. I didn't think that I would get it. Even though I was aware of it, I knew what the symptoms were. But when I had it, almost the first time, almost 11 years ago, I was a totally different person. I didn't know who I was. I woke up crying, woke up not knowing what me I was going to be. Was I going to be happy? Was I going to be sad, irritable, agitated? My partner, because we finally have what we wanted. We have our daughter, and it's supposed to be this happy time. And I am now a foreign person in our home. And he, it was very difficult for him. He did have family that, had nursing backgrounds. So he had them to rely upon and ask questions without alarming me, because he didn't want me to feel bad for what I was going through. He was just trying to find understanding. Being from a Caribbean background, we don't really talk about these types of issues. We don't go to the doctor or a therapist for these types of things. So I was unaware of what was happening to me, even though I knew that this thing was out there. And I just really much wanted to be my normal self again, because what you tend to feel is out of control. And you start to feel like your symptoms are you. You don't see an end in sight. You feel like you are this illness. And so you become a totally different person to your family and friends. There's a lot of withdrawal from social events, isolation, and your mood from one minute to the next, it just varies.
When did the non-awareness become awareness?
I believe it was my sister-in-law, she said to my husband, I think Dionne is having baby blues. And so I looked it up. Yeah, baby blues. So baby blues is, you get like a bit of sadness. It's what they call the non-disorder. It's not as intense as postpartum depression or perinatal anxiety. It lasts 2 days to 2 weeks. And it's just like your self-esteem remains the same. For the most part, you're happy, but you're overly fatigued, and you might have some sad moments, but it's very short term. Like I said, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks the most. So that's what they thought I had, but my symptoms lasted for like 5 months. Wow. And so that's where I was like, no, there's something's wrong. My mother was like, no, you just bought a house and you're overwhelmed with a new house and a new baby. And I'm like, no, mom, something else is happening. But I couldn't put the words to it. It wasn't until I was going through it that I myself started reading into it more and really investigating what it is that I was going through.
How were those 5 months?
They were pretty horrific. Because I wasn't in control. I'm not in control of my feelings. Imagine waking up and you don't know you don't know what you're gonna be that day. You don't know if you're waking up to yourself crying, lack of appetite. I blamed myself for any and everything. So anything that was wrong with the baby, whether she had gripe or, just regular crying, I blamed myself because I had to be doing something wrong. Questioned all the time why I didn't have an immediate connection. I was very protective of her, but I didn't have that immediate connection that everyone said I would have, and then have this overwhelming feeling of joy and this overwhelming feeling of love. And I didn't experience it right away. And I so automatically was like, what's wrong with me? I've waited my whole life to have this baby, and now she's here and I'm feeling off.
So when you found out what was going on, what was your first course of action?
Well, I must tell you, I didn't receive help the first time around because I was still in a bit of denial. What I would have to do is every morning, because it was winter time, and winter in Toronto, it's dark from 3:30, 4 o'clock. I had no one else that was there with me. My husband at the time was working at Richmond Hill. And we're in Ajax. So the travel alone from Ajax to Richmond Hill was just horrible. So I would have him wake up earlier, help me pack my bag, and drop me off at my mother's house just so I could have another adult that I could be with, just for company. And so important to know that just because I was at my mother's house receiving help, it didn't mean that my symptoms disappeared. It just meant that at least I had support in the daytime until he returned home. And my mother, like I said, being a Caribbean woman, Jamaican woman, she just was like, I don't understand what is going on. How come you're not happy? You have a sweet, sweet baby here. I couldn't tell her what it was that I was going through, but I didn't receive help. I did start to notice that if I broke out of the monotony of the day, it did help. If I forced myself to go outside and do a little exercise, walking, that helped a little bit, because as you know, if you exercise, you have your happy endorphins and the happy hormones, it's being released throughout your body. So then you'll get like a burst of energy. Just having someone there to relieve me of preparing meals or holding her so I could take a proper shower, that was everything to me. But no, I did not receive help the first time around.
I'm thinking here. So 5 months, you're going through this. And again, I'm an outsider here, so I'm just putting these conversations together. That did it ever dissipate the first time around? Because you said you didn't address it. So did it dissipate, or were there any lingering effects?
It dissipated for me, fortunately, as the months got warmer. So by April, May, I started to feel like I could actually venture outside alone with her. And that's the other thing. It wasn't just depression. That's why we call it perinatal mood disorders, because it covers a whole list of symptoms. I also had anxiety. I was afraid to leave home by myself. I was afraid to put her in a stroller and go out for a walk. And so I was anxious to be alone at home with her, because I just felt like I needed someone else around me, but I was too anxious to go outside. And so that there's things that you should be doing, but there's also something holding you back from doing it. A very difficult time. The first time around, I was very lucky because I didn't receive treatment, but like I said, the symptoms dissipated around April, May. I had my daughter in November. So around April, May, the symptoms dissipated, and I felt like I could start doing things on my own. I didn't have to rely on the trip to my mother's house to feel like myself again. I started eating food again. That's how I knew things were changing. I love food. So things started, getting back on track for me. And I started enjoying my time with my daughter. I started enjoying going for walks and venturing out on my own alone with her.
Great. So let's move up to second child.
Yes. So.
And this is happening again.
Yeah.
How did you react differently this time?
Okay, so this is a whole other situation because I had my son, about almost 5 years later.
Right.
I had him in July.
Okay.
And I remember after I gave birth to him, it's almost like I sat back. I pushed him out and I waited for these feelings to come right away, because with my daughter, I felt like I had the postpartum and the anxiety right away. I had my son in July and everything was rosy. It was great. I woke up every 2 hours like I was supposed to, do my feedings. And, anyone who knows, that's not a fun time. But for me, I was just like, thank you, Jesus. Like, I feel normal. I had him in July. Everything was going great. August came. August was great. I want to say September hit. And I looked at myself in the mirror one day, didn't know who I was. And so these are two different examples. One happened right away. One took, within 2 months to kick in. That time around, I felt like it was more difficult because now I have a almost 5-year-old daughter. So I have to appear normal in front of her and put my best foot forward in front of her. I don't want her to see that something's wrong with her mom or her mother's acting unusual. And now I have a newborn as well to look after. It was very difficult. But I knew at least this time around, I knew what it was. I knew that I was desperate to be back to normal because I have two and not one. So it was through the help of my children's pediatrician. It's not that I even went to go get help for myself, but as you know, when you have a newborn, you have these checkups that you have to do. And my pediatrician looked at me and asked me, hey, how are you doing? And I broke down in her office and she said, oh no. She said, no, if you're not good for yourself, you're not good for those kids. And so she said, I need you to go to the doctor. I'm going to come into my office on a Saturday, and I'm going to make sure that you have called your doctor and followed through to look after yourself. Well, I did that. Important to know that my regular doctor had retired. So the doctor that I was going to was his replacement. I did not have a real relationship with him. I felt like I was just another number. And so he just gave me these hormone pills. He said that my hormone levels had when you're pregnant, your hormone levels raise, and then after pregnancy, they kind of crash. So he gave me some hormones for a replacement, and just said, email me if anything. And I thought, okay, well, a month later, nothing has changed. I still have the same symptoms, and I felt like this doctor wasted my time. Went back to the pediatrician's office because there was another checkup for my baby. And she said, no, this is not working out. I'm not used to seeing you this way. You are going to another doctor and you're going to tell her that I sent you. And that was the journey of me getting help.
Wow.
Yeah.
How important
is
your pediatrician in all of this story?
Yeah. She is like the diamond in the rough, it was because of her looking at me and knowing my personality when I normally come into her office and seeing that this Dionne is not the same Dionne that I'm used to seeing. And she wanted me to get help right away. I wanted to get help right away. And so I made the appointment to go and see this new doctor. I was very apprehensive. I remember my husband and I driving to her office and saying, you are not going to do antidepressants. We don't do that, and I could only speak about the Caribbean community. We don't really, antidepressants. We don't do that. We don't go to therapists, not really. And so I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to go on antidepressants, but we'll see what other options she has for me. But then as soon as I got to the office and she explained that there would be no worry or no harm to the baby with the medicine going into the breast milk, because that's what a lot of mothers are concerned about and why they may have apprehensions about taking antidepressants, something just said, go with it, Dionne, like just go with it. You have nothing to lose. And so that's when I started my journey. I started to take the antidepressants, and I'm telling you, when you get the proper medical treatment that you're supposed to get, it's day and night. This woman called me weekly to make sure that I was feeling okay. And then I would have checkups with her to make sure that everything was going as planned.
Many words said there, but one of the key words, proper medical treatment.
Yeah.
We will on parking lot that statement to come back later. After overcoming a second time, how did your spirit feel?
Oh, well, I felt elated that it was finished, and that I wouldn't have to go through it again. Because at that point in time, I was like, listen, I have a boy, I have a girl, I'm not doing this again, or we're not doing this again. You know, I have what I want, but it was just like, this was horrible. You know, many times upon reflection, I apologized to my husband, and he's like, you don't need to apologize. I know that you were not well, but it's just for him to be in a house and see that his wife is not who he's normally used to seeing. It was so difficult. And then there was a transition period after, and I think that's just in pregnancy altogether, where you get over the rough part and then you kind of feel lost because you've just been doing mom stuff. What about you? What about Dionne? What does she like to do? How can she normalize herself again and get back into just feeling like herself, like without being a mom? What does she like to do? So there's also that transition as well. Oops, I can't hear you.
I want to just have you shout out who are the key people throughout all this time for you?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say, well, the pediatrician, Dr. Mills Teddy, a great pediatrician. She works in Toronto. My mother, because through my mother, I saw the transition, and from the first child to the next. The first one, she was like, I don't understand what you're going through. I don't understand what you're going through. The second time around, she didn't understand, but something clicked, and she could see, you know, when my mood was rising and when it was dipping, and she was just a beacon of support. And she tried to learn. And I saw that in her. Even though I wasn't well, I could see her assessing my every move and trying to learn and trying to understand, and no longer, I guess, brushing it off as a made up illness. It's not made up because you're watching your daughter go through it. My husband, because he tried everything. He'd take me for drives, you know, let's go by the lake. Let's just go walk. Just don't do anything, or go to the movie theater on your own. He would try so hard. And it does make a difference to have a supportive partner at home. My sister, always trying to get me out of the house. Okay, Dionne, you got to change your clothes. You got to comb your hair. I don't want to see you looking raga. No, we got to get
the first time we've had in over 2,500 conversations, and especially on this topic, we get raga. Okay. I love it. I love it.
Raga. Page is called D Honestly Speaks. It's what you see is what you get.
Bring it, D. Bring it, D.
So she was like, no, we got to get you back to feeling yourself. So family, I had someone who, my daughter's godfather, found out that I was going through postpartum. He lives in Florida. He sent me a bouquet of flowers and said, we're with you. You're going to get through this. Don't worry about anything. So just people coming. I had friends, my friend Renee, coming to drive up to my house, living all the way where she does in the West End, and to try and get me out of the house, even though she was going through anxiety herself. So it was like helping each other. I had friends going through it with me, and we would call each other and just be a beacon of support for each other.
Wonderful. That is amazing. I love hearing victory stories. So that's why I wanted to get that too. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a little bit of a break to give Dee to keep her raga self under control. And we're going to come back, and what we're going to do in the second half of our conversation, we're going to find out when this became a passion project.
Okay.
For Dee, and how what do we need to know? How can we be advocates? How can we be change makers when it comes to this? So we'll be back in just a minute. We're listening to Dionne Levy, Raga Raga. No, Raga Raga. And on Black Canada Talking, and we'll be back in just a moment. What's up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here.
Just had an awesome experience. He is a really good interviewer.
The conversations that we have and the passion that he has for people and helping people.
So smoothly that you would have thought that had known each other for years.
Big shout out to Dr. Vibes. I had the opportunity, the pleasure, and the privilege to join him last evening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And you can check out more great content like this on my website. Also, follow me on social media. Remember, it's Dr. Vibe, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And remember, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourself grace. We are back, and Dionne is back. What's going on?
I'm here still. I'm here.
Well, we didn't expect you to leave on us. You're too important. You're the star of the show.
Oh, boy. Thank you so much.
You're the star today. Now, you had overcome. When did this now start becoming a passion to help empower, educate, enlighten others about this?
Okay, so when I returned back to work from maternity leave after having my second and last child, I was sitting there in this job that I just did not like, being in this profession that I was just like, you know what, this is not really me, but how can I give back now? I've gone through this twice. What is it that I could do? And I remember, you know, when you have a baby, you get sent home with all these pamphlets that you actually don't have time to read through. But I remember seeing one for Durham healthy families. And because I live in Durham, I thought, let me reach out to them and see what it is I could do. And as soon as I called the organization and I told her what was going on and what I had gone through, she called me a survivor. She said, "Oh my gosh, you're a 2-time survivor. I can't believe that you want to give back. And I think it's great that you want to do that. Maybe come to some network board meetings." And then, so I started doing that. At first intimidated because I was the only mother amongst all these, practitioners and medical professionals, but it allowed me to give my viewpoint on what it is like being a patient versus them being doctors and practitioners and social workers. And then I got invited to support groups, speaking at support groups for women who are actually going through postpartum depression and perinatal mood disorders at that moment, and just trying to inspire and share my story with them, so they could see that there are commonalities and that their feelings and whatever they're going through is validated and that feel that someone is listening to them. And I wanted them to see that, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, with proper treatment and just taking time to look after yourself. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And this was the start of me just continuing to share the story. They've called me back so many times. I got to be a guest speaker with fathers because maybe at home they feel like they don't have a voice. And so the last group that I went to, it was all fathers, and it was so lovely to see. They were all so concerned, but all wanted to, have their feelings validated as well and find ways that they could help their partner, their spouse. And so that was the beginning of it all.
Wonderful. Want you to see if you can recycle the first time you had the opportunity of sharing your story in public. Do you remember that?
I do.
Were you nervous?
I was not.
Oh, good.
I was not. Maybe for like 2 seconds. And then the minute I start speaking about it and I think of why I'm there, like the nervousness and the apprehensions, they all go out the door.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want you, and you shared with us just in your last few comments, the impact on fathers and dads.
Okay,
Okay, if you could
so
dig a little, because for people who don't know, I'm a very big fatherhood and manhood advocate. And I think a lot of times people may not think about the impact or the potential impact on fathers and dads of this type of challenge towards their other halves. So if you could
right.
just share a few moments on it, that'd be great.
Okay, well, so a lot of people don't know that there is something called paternal postnatal depression. It is depression that fathers may experience after the birth of their child. It affects 10% of fathers, and it is underreported. And I did say it affects 10% of fathers, but the number could also be higher if, like, if their partner is going through postpartum depression or perinatal anxiety or any of those symptoms, they are at a higher risk of having some type of postnatal depression. For men, the symptoms manifest in a different way. They become withdrawn, maybe hostile. They are definitely fatigued, and they may show no interest and may turn their attention to other things. Whereas with women, because it's like it could be a hormonal thing, or it could be if you've had traumatic in your past, if you have, a high depression or anxiety in your past, you're at a higher risk of experiencing postpartum depression or perinatal mood disorders or anxiety. So these are all types of things that you have to take into account, especially, I don't know, I think there needs to be more screening. There needs to be more screening for mothers, potential mothers, not, after childbirth, but before, they need to ask more questions into what the medical history is. And I feel like there needs to be more proactive measures being made, so that fathers and mothers could be more prepared for when the child comes.
Great. When you first started your passion into this, did it surprise you how many mothers are experiencing this? Because at first it was you,
Right.
and now
Right.
you're out championing this challenge. Is it like when you started initially on this journey, did you get blown away by how many women have been or are impacted on about this?
Yes, and how many women, have the same symptoms, and you always feel like you're alone. Like, that there are women out there experiencing it, but at that time when you're going through it, you feel like you're in a dark bubble by yourself. So, getting out there and speaking to women and seeing how they are feeling and what they're going through now, it's just like your heart just bleeds for them, and fathers too. Your heart bleeds for them, and you just want to be able to help. And there are a lot of women who are going through the same things, and that's why I want to continue talking about it, because even though mental health, talking about it, is on the rise, there seems to still be a disconnect with perinatal mood disorders, what it is. People just talk about postpartum depression, but it's so much more.
Why do you feel there's this disconnect that you just shared with us? What do you think the root cause is?
Well, I think there's stigma. I think there's shame. Like for myself, I was embarrassed. Like, why would I? Like, it was like kind of like, why would I have this thing? But postpartum depression, it doesn't, or perinatal mood disorders, it does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're rich or you're poor. It does not care about your socioeconomic background. It doesn't care what color you are, how old you are, but it's just important to know that it exists and it's there. And then you have to get proper treatment. Make sure you have, suitable medical practitioner assisting you. I feel like a lot of people get caught up with the fact that, they go to a doctor, they're not really happy with that doctor, so they stay there. You have choices, you have options. You do not have to stay with the same practitioner. You want to make sure that you could advocate for yourself and that whoever you choose to go to is listening. Because if they're not listening, your needs aren't being met. And so we need people that are going to be listening and receiving the information of what their patients are expressing to them. And we need support persons, family members to really listen and not treat perinatal mood disorders like it's some made up thing. It's not made up. And so the more we speak about it is the more awareness we create, and more people would feel comfortable coming forward, especially men.
How, if at all, has the medical community responded to this compared to where you at now to when you were going through this the first time? Have you seen a more receptive response from the medical community when it comes to this? And especially in light, we're now 14 months in a pandemic where we live.
Right. So when I first got into this, so 11 years ago, I didn't even know that there was a term perinatal mood disorders. Everyone, like I said, only talks about postpartum depression. And I don't know if I actually gave the definition of perinatal mood disorders just so people aren't confused.
Go ahead, please.
So I want to clarify. So I mentioned baby blues before, which is something that is less intense. It lasts 2 days to 2 weeks. It's a fluctuation of hormones, that are out of whack after childbirth and is due to sleep deprivation. Postpartum depression is after childbirth, and it can last up to a year or longer. Perinatal mood disorders talks about, how you're feeling even during your pregnancy, sometimes even from conception, but from pregnancy all the way to, after childbirth. And so it's taking up the whole spectrum, the whole timeline, pregnancy to after childbirth, and probably up to a year after or even more. But there are women who, while pregnant, are not feeling like themselves. This is why we've come up with the term perinatal mood disorders. I found this out about 6 years ago when I decided to start this journey. And every day I'm learning more. I do feel like there are more people that are advocating for the knowledge of perinatal mood disorders and trying to spread the word, but there's still a little bit of a disconnect. I think the term perinatal mood disorders, I try to normalize it. So I say postpartum depression, but I also explain what perinatal mood disorders are, so there is no confusion.
Wow. It's a lot. Want you, and I know you've helped a lot of people. I always like to hear a success story. So do you have a success story that you could share with us during your journey?
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel like, even because I mentioned that I did have friends who were going through it the same time as me. I feel like the success is just watching the same friends that I experienced it with coming out of it okay, just as I came out of it okay, taking the proper measures in order to get better. So, going to a medical practitioner or, going to a therapist, doing these things that will help you become better. I could only talk to what I've seen. And so far, I've seen my friends who have gone through it. They've come out healthy and well, and they, took the time to go and get help. I think self-care is also a big and important thing in getting yourself back to normal, how you feel. Everything cannot just be about motherhood. You were someone before a mother, so you have to get back to your interests, slowly, acclimate yourself to what it is that you liked doing before you became a mother.
Yeah, that's something that I do a lot when I'm helping fathers, especially that before they were a father, they were a man.
Right.
So as you're saying here, before they were a mother, they were a lady.
Yeah.
So we have to feed both those buckets.
Yeah, and not feel guilty about it, because children take up your time. But even if you start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, then you'll find other ways that you could be like, okay, well, I've done 10 minutes. Let's see if I could go for 15 or 20 minutes the following day, and just start feeling like yourself again, because you can't be good to your family or your children if you're not good to yourself.
This is interesting too, because it's not any easier being a mother today. It doesn't get any easier.
No.
And I just really appreciate all the energy and effort and passion you're putting into this area. Do you have supporters? Are there people helping you on this journey and mission? Or is it Dionne against the world trying to do this all on her own?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I know there are other people out there like me. That's why I started my Instagram page, which is Dionne Speaking, because I want to try to give like little bits of inspiration or motivation weekly. And if it's not inspiration and motivation, it is an educational piece. I'm telling you what the symptoms are, or what is the cause, or what other things are surrounding perinatal mood disorders. Because I want women and fathers to feel validated in their feelings. I don't want them to feel like they're alone. I want them to feel like there is a light at the other end of the tunnel.
That's good. What needs to be done specifically in the Black community when it comes to this?
Well, we need to speak up more. I think for us, we've endured so much. Like, we have gone through so much trauma that it's almost desensitized. Like, there are things that even me, like, we've gone through in our past being, Black people, and we are very resilient, we persevere. But the things that we've gone through, we just, oh yeah, I went through that, and we move along in life. But if you don't address certain things, certain trauma that you've gone through, what happens when you don't address things? They come back until it is properly addressed. And so I think we have to continue talking, getting rid of the stigma, getting rid of the shame, stop acting like, there's something wrong if you have a mental issue. And I just think that the more we speak, the more we talk about it, the more we share our experiences, there will be less shame, and people will want to come forward. And listening goes a long way. Because sometimes people who are going through it, they don't need you really to do anything. They just want to be validated. They want you to listen, and they don't want judgment. So try to be less judgmental. And like I said, that goes a very long way. Show compassion.
When you share to audiences, just out of curiosity, are the majority of the audience Black or white?
Well, it depends on what platform. What platform I'm on. So Durham Healthy Families was mainly white, but there were a few Black or Asian, mothers or fathers that were there as well. And, a couple of times I did have like a few Caribbean moms, come up to me after the support group and say, I'm so grateful for you being here, because there are certain things that you've brought up where me coming to the support group by myself, I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing it up, but you've brought it up. And because we had the same background, I was relatable to her. And so that just, made me feel so elated inside.
And I love that. Where I'm concerned a little bit is health agencies that aren't providing the culturally sensitive programming.
Yes. Yeah. And so I guess a lot more work has to be done within the medical field, because there is a higher rate of maternal deaths in the Black community, as opposed to the white community. I think we're the highest. Sometimes our what do I say? What we're going through, if we're going through some kind of discomfort or pain or concern, it's sometimes being ignored, because they've come out with a study, whereas as recent as 2016, the CDC came up with a study saying that a lot of, I can't remember the percentage, but some of the medical students still have this belief that we do not experience pain the same way. Yeah. And so when we come to you with a concern, it's kind of brushed away. And that can't happen, because, like I said, maternal death rates are very high for us. I feel like people need to listen more. You have to check your biases at the door. We are people. This is a color. It's my color. It doesn't mean that I experience pain any less. And so the same way you would listen to anybody else coming to you with a concern, especially after childbirth, because this is something that we take for granted, that you're just going to have a baby, everything's going to be okay. Some people do not make it out. And so we need our voices to be heard. We need to be validated. Don't shoo me off, and ignore me. I need you to listen. And if you're not, like I said, getting the help that you need, change healthcare practitioners. You need to be comfortable.
I guess this would be a no-brainer question, but I'll ask it. You would probably like to see more healthcare practitioners that look like us out in the field.
Definitely, because there is a certain comfort level, and especially in light of all the studies that have been coming forward, like I said, if people could feel comfortable with their own, and if they feel comfortable with their own, then there's nothing wrong with that, especially if they're going to get the supreme care that they deserve, and it's going to keep them alive. I don't see anything wrong with that.
As we went down our conversation, what's next for you along the journey?
Oh my goodness. Well, currently, so like you had read in my bio that I've been trained by Postpartum Support International. I am now going to be, I'm in the process of studying for my exam so I could become perinatal mental health certified.
Whoa.
And so that's a big thing for me right now. That's all I'm trying to do, but trying to balance studying with the 2 kids and maintaining the house and doing all that. But once I finish the exam, I'm going to feel like I'm on top of the world and that I could share and divest my energies in so many more people.
This has to be bigger.
I see you thinking, what is going on?
I have a number of conversation topics that's going to be offline.
Okay.
There's a myriad of things. Yes, there's a myriad of thought processes and suggestions I would have for you to amplify your platform.
Yeah.
It's because I think especially during this time of the world's history, no better time for you to amplify this message and your story and your journey than right here, right now.
Yes. Yep.
Right here, right now. It's now is your time.
Yeah.
Now is your time.
Right.
How do you balance all this stuff as a mother?
I ask myself the same thing every day.
No, folks, did you see the body language? The hands went to the side. It was hilarious.
I don't know, Dr. Vibe. I don't know. There's times I'm trying to study, but my son, my kids are home virtual schooling. So, that's a whole other challenge. And I'm really glad that the end of June is near because I can maybe focus on myself and my studying a little bit more. I don't know. I just do it. I just do. And then I look about myself after, but I do because I cannot promote self-care and not do it for myself. So when my kids go to bed, I just take a minute to be at peace and calm and, show gratitude for the day. Mm-hmm. I really promote people, just looking at your day. Yes, we're in a pandemic and things seem to be going crazy, but there are good points in the day. So celebrate the small wins as well as the big ones. Show gratitude for the day you woke up this morning. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So as we have you close out, got a question for you, 2-part question.
Yes.
When it comes to this subject, what is your message to Black men?
Oh my gosh, to Black men out there, we want to hear from you more. I don't want you to, close yourself off. I want you to make your voice big, take up space. If you are going through, postnatal depression, talk about it. I don't want you to go into a shell. I want you to verbalize your thoughts, your opinions, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to do that. Release the stigma. And, in order to support your partner, just listen, try to do things that alleviate some of her stress, like maybe try washing the bottles or do some of the feedings, laundry, just things around the house. Let her have a bit of a moment to herself. That's very important. And it's about communication. don't forget that you guys were here together before your baby. So, you know, and it's a transition point. So, you know, whereas you have your marriage and you have, okay, now you're together and you have a baby, it's a transition point. Some of these things could make or break a relationship, but have your communication open, continue to do the things that you liked doing together before you had your baby, and continue listening to one another, continue loving on each other.
Okay, Black women.
What do I want them to know? I want them to know that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. If you are fearful, it's normal, but you will get through it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. This is not forever. It is temporary. But to not be fearful of receiving or going to get treatment. Go and get your treatment, and just to get yourself back on track. I want you to look at the things that you liked doing before, get back to self-care, and to just understand that this is it's just a temporary time in your life. It's a temporary time in your life, and it's going to be your testimony, and your story could help other women. So you might be going through this thing and you're asking yourself questions the same way that I did. Why me? Why am I going through this? And you're going through it because it might be your testimony. It might be your way of helping someone else, the next generation, the next girl, the next woman who is going through this, maybe the next family member, because you've gone through it yourself. You're going to be better able to assist that person, and you're going to be judgment free, and you're going to be able to listen and give them the love and support that they need.
I'm going to slide in one more audience, the medical community.
Yeah. What I say to them?
Yes.
Oh boy. That's a good question. I would just say to them to really just leave any and all biases at the door and treat everyone the same. Do not look at the color of their skin and come up with preconceived notions of who and what you think they are. Let them have the same treatment that you would give a family member, because we know that you're going to treat your family member supreme. Treat any and all of your patients the same way that you would treat your family. Give them the same benefits, the same love and nurture that you would give to a family member. Because without patients, you're really nothing without your patients. So, treat them all the same. Give them what it is that they need. Do not ignore, but listen more. Don't rush them out of your office. I know that you have many patients to see in a day, but do not rush. That's the worst feeling, to rush a patient out of the office. Just be more compassionate.
I think that is a beautiful message to end off our epic conversation with Dionne. Thank you for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It's been a wonderful experience.
Wonderful. And my producer, if you could put up Dionne's contact information, her Instagram contact information, and her Facebook information there. And if you just flash them up again for us, please and thank you. Do Instagram one more time, The Honestly Speaking, yes. And also Facebook, The Honestly Speaking. Man, uniform, wonderful.
Right? It's uniformity. Have to.
Wonderful, wonderful. One last challenge for you. Where do you see yourself in this journey a year from now?
Oh my gosh, a year from now, I'm hoping to be on platforms speaking to people all over the world, globally. I want this message to resonate with people all over the world. I know that I when I speak, I refer to my Caribbean background because that's all I know. But I know that there are many cultures like ours that, going to the doctor about these types of things or talking about this type of thing is kind of taboo. And it's kind of like, we have things to do. You're sad, whatever. It's not just about sadness, but I want women to understand and fathers to understand that this thing is real. I want people to know that it's real. It's real. It's real. And without treatment, it doesn't get better. So I want you to be able to get the proper medical help that you need. I want to be sharing this message on a global platform. That's all I can say for now.
You're already doing it. This is a global platform.
Yay!
So you've already started your journey.
There I go.
Well, blessings to you, your family, and your loved ones for all the things that you have done, are doing, and will be doing. I'd like to say, remember, it's just important to give yourselves grace.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I'm the only host in the world that has a program dedicated to fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization, and I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora, that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. As always, I'd like to say thanks for the people who watched or listened to this live, or watched or listened to it on the replay. I'd like to shout out Dionne Levy and Norris, especially Norris, for introducing myself and Dionne together. As always, I end off my conversations with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and thank you to BIA Media for the epic production today. God bless, peace to all, keep the faith, walk good, and never settle.